Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today, as you can see, we have the free Premier Draft of Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, so let's just jump right into it here. Not a massive fan of this set, so I'm probably just going to do the one free draft, but it's definitely always a good time to get some free value when Arena allows you to have some. So if you are interested in getting a free draft in, make sure to hop on and draft Ikoria by the 25th, I think is the last day you can do it, so you should probably hop on by the 24th just to be safe. And then, of course, at that time, we will have the new Jumpstart set, Jumpstart Historic Horizons on Arena to play around with. But for now, let's hop back into Ikoria. I didn't draft this set a whole ton because I wasn't a huge fan of the meta, so I don't have the most experience with it, so it should be pretty interesting to see how we do here. But the one biggest takeaway from the format is that by far the strongest deck is red-white cycling, if it's available, if it's open, but it is pretty well known, so it is definitely not available or open particularly often. Plus our pick one, pack one here. There's really nothing for a cycling deck, or at least nothing great. I guess there's like a red-white duel that cycles for 3, or just a 2-mana cycling card. But we're probably taking something else here. Easy Prey seems okay. You can kill something small or cycle it away. Deadweight also seems okay. Kill something small, but you can't cycle it away, so I think Easy Prey is probably better. There's like one of these human plus non-human tribal cards. You want like a bunch of non-human creatures and then some humans in your deck for cards like Fight as One to work as well as possible. Nothing seems incredibly exciting to me here. I mean, Fight as One's a pretty great combat trick. Keensign Mentor is okay, and we have some okay removal. There's also like Migratory Greathorn, which can leave us open to any kind of mutate decks. Honestly, not experienced enough in the format to know what to pick out of that pack, but I definitely know what to pick out of this one. Migratory Greathorn here. I think it's just a really, really solid staple for any mutate deck. This is just such an enabler, allowing you to pretty easily play 3-color stuff as long as green is at the core of your deck. And a lot of the mutate decks in the format are going to be focused around trying to get as many cards that trigger when you mutate as possible. So Greathorn is just such a nice like glue to hold those decks together. So that's why I take the Greathorn out of that last pack. I don't know, nothing incredibly exciting to me in any other colors. That being said, we do have a Zenith Flare here. This is pretty much just the best card in the format and draft. Zenith Flare is the biggest win condition for the red-white cycling decks. There are a ton of cards you can cycle for 1 generic mana, like Starling Development, so if you get enough of those, you can have a deck that's just consistently cycling, which means you're drawing a ton of cards, digging towards your win conditions like your Zenith Flare to do like 5+ damage for only 4 mana and gain you a bunch of life. So Zenith Flare, definitely the pick here. Incredibly powerful card for an incredibly powerful archetype. And we'll see what we have in our next pack. I don't believe there are any 1 generic mana cyclers in here. That would be the easiest thing to take after taking a Zenith Flare, but there are certainly some solid cards. We have Blitz of the Thunder Raptor, which can be decent removal somewhat early in the game. You do have to have some instants and sorceries in your graveyard to cast it, so it's good in blue-red spells or red-white cycling. In the cycling deck, you get to use this relatively early on because you're just cycling so many random instants and sorceries. However, we do have Shredded Sails and Lava Serpent, 2 cards that cycle for 2 generic mana. Again, not as good as the 1 mana cyclers, but I think Lava Serpent's actually really nice because you cycle it early in the game, and then late game it can help you chip in for that last 5 damage with a gigantic hasty creature, and if nothing else, it's often against any non-mutate deck going to be one of the biggest creatures. So I like Lava Serpent quite a bit here, a cycler and a potential win condition, but I could see an argument for the Blitz, but I think I'm going with the Lava Serpent here. With a Zenith Flare in our deck, we're going to do what we can to try to force cycling, to be honest, because this is just such a ridiculously powerful card for that archetype, and pretty easy Snare Tactician here, although there is a great removal spell, Rumbling Rock Slide here, 4 mana for essentially 4 damage or more to a creature at sorcery speed. Pretty nice rate in limited in terms of removal power level, but Snare Tactician's a really nice really powerful card for the cycling decks. If you're on the play and you manage to get some creatures out to where you are able to get in aggressively, this helps a ton because you're cycling your stuff, tapping down their blockers, and just slamming them in the face. And it also works really well defensively because what you're going to be doing a lot in the cycling decks is just cycling through your random cycler cards, trying to dig to your win conditions like Zenith Flare or Lava Serpent, and Snare Tactician lets you sit there and do that while being very defensive, tapping down your opponent's creatures before they go to combat. So Snare Tactician really great on the offensive or on the defensive. So very happy to take that card there. Here I'll probably just take a Raking Claws because it does have that 2 generic mana cycling and is a potential win condition with the Lava Serpent. This is much more just for the cycling. I think it's very rare we're going to win a game off of randomly giving something double strike. So most of the time we're just cycling that to trigger cards like Snare Tactician, get another card engraved for Zenith Flare. I don't think Solid Footing, Heightened Reflexes, or Blister Spit Gremlin are exciting at all. The only other major option I would consider in this pack would be Clash of Titans. Ooh, but there is starting development, though. This is one of those things that is pretty difficult to see just taking a quick peek around the pack. In these cycling decks, 1 generic mana cyclers are so good, you do have to look at the cards that are off color, because if they have cycling costs that only cost 1, it doesn't matter what color that card is. So we are going to take startling development there over the 2 generic mana cycler, because I think the times that we get a benefit from being able to cycle a card just immediately for only 1 mana are going to outweigh the amount of times that we actually cast Raking Claws instead of cycling it for 2. And here we have 2 of the best 1 mana cyclers, Drannith Healer and Drannith Stinger. These are both excellent because of the fact that they are a 1 generic mana cycler that you'll actually cast the front half of quite often. This is both a cycling enabler and a cycling payoff. It enables cycling by being able to cycle for cheap, and it pays off having a bunch of cyclers by killing your opponent as you're cycling stuff. So I do think Drannith Stinger is better than the healer because you're proactively killing your opponent instead of just trying to stem the bleeding, but I think both are quite good. Of course, Lava Serpent already talked about. That's a great card, and the combat trick there was pretty nice too. A 2 mana combat trick that can cycle for 2 mana. Not bad at all in this deck. And here I think I'll take a Spell Eater Wolverine, but I will take a peek at the other cards. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any other cyclers. But yeah, definitely the Spell Eater Wolverine here. And what do we have now? Another Spell Eater Wolverine. We have a 2 generic mana cycler in the Zagoth Crystal, but ideally for any 2 generic mana cyclers, we want to be able to cast the front half. 1 generic mana cyclers, it really doesn't matter. We can just sit there cycling those all day long. But if it's 2 mana to cycle it, ideally, they're at least like a red or white card. I don't know. I haven't drafted the format enough to know if cyclers are that important that we just take a random 2 mana cycler. Maybe they are. But I do think Spell Eater Wolverine is like a decent little aggro drop in these decks. Yeah, don't know if I'm right here. I'm just going to take the Spell Eater Wolverine, though. And here I'll definitely take Coordinated Charge over Suffocating Fumes, because it's on color, it's in red-white, and it cycles for 2. So every now and then, again, pretty rarely, but sometimes we'll just cast a Coordinated Charge to win the game, getting some damage in there. Tentative Connection. It's like a red-black sacrifice kind of card. Ooh, 1 generic mana cycler, starting development. We will scoop that right up. But yeah, as you can see, definitely a format where I actually have to look at all the cards quite often because I am just not super familiar. But these picks are pretty easy. Keensight Mentor is a pretty decent card, but like we're drafting a synergy deck. We have to go for all the synergies we can with all the cyclers. And Dorat, actually, the Sprite Dragon, really fun card for the red-blue spells deck. I think this is actually a pretty decent card in that strategy, so that is certainly open if we wanted to go that way. Well, another Raking Claws, I guess. I don't think we'll be casting a Ketria Crystal, but it's possible we cast a Raking Claws and both cycle for 2. So the main reason I don't like this format is this is the least balanced draft format that I think is on Arena, period. I think that red-white cycling is the best strategy in the format by a higher degree than like red-black is in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. And there are definitely people who are tired of red-black in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. So if you've never drafted Ikoria, wait till you see this. But There's also just the fact that I'm not a massive fan of the whole mutate ability either. It's pretty fun, like theoretically, where you're making your stuff bigger over time. That can be really cool, but it stacks up to some pretty repetitive games, in my opinion, where it's all about just making one gigantic, ridiculous battle cruiser. Like, you're just like, okay, mutate onto this one card. Now that you've mutated one card onto that stack, because every mutate card you have triggers when you're mutating onto it, like, as soon as you put one thing on one card, it's almost always correct to just keep putting mutate cards onto the exact same creature over and over again and just making one ridiculous pile. So it can be pretty repetitive for that, and obviously repetitive with a lot of red-white cycling going around. So here, I think I'm just taking a one generic mana cycler again. I don't see anything particularly powerful in red or white. Weaponize the monsters is good, but not really in the cycling deck. Ideally, you want some tokens to sacrifice around. And the 3-mana 1/1 Vigilance there is actually really good in any deck with a little bit of mutate, because it's completely colorless. And you cast it on turn 3, grab whatever basic land you need from your deck, fix your mana with that, and then thanks to doing that, you get the mana you need to mutate onto it, and when you mutate onto it, you do get that Vigilance on that card. So I do really like that colorless 3-mana 1/1 in that last pack as well. Here we easily just take Prickly Marmoset. We're definitely the cycling deck. We can use just another absolute beat stick while we're cycling. This card can hit your opponent for a ton of damage if you have one generic mana cyclers in the deck, and if you have enough of them, so I will scoop that up. All the cycling cards in here cost 2 to cycle, the Barrier Breach and Hampering Snare, so a little bit expensive. And of course a really cool off-color companion here, but when we're doing the cycling deck, we're not really looking for super off-color stuff. Alright, here we go, Drannith Healer, don't mind if I do. 1 generic mana to cycle, plus it's a very castable creature on turn 2. Super, super solid card for this deck. And there's an Auricorn for doing mutate things, but not when we're playing around with Zenith Flare, Snare Tactician, Drannith Stinger, and Prickly Marmoset. We just kind of have all of the things here that you want for these cycler decks. So things are looking great here, but we'll see how things progress from this point on. Are we cut out of this pack? I don't believe I see any 1 generic mana cycling cards. Yeah, we're pretty cut out of this one. We do have a 2-mana cycler. I guess we can take that. Even on color, we don't have anything that good. Forbidden Friendship can be okay. When you have a lot of mutate, it does give you a dinosaur token to mutate onto, so that you can mutate without really having to like 2-for-1 yourself by casting a creature and then mutating onto that creature. Here you're just mutating onto a token, so you basically just get a cost reduction on whatever mutate cost you're going for. Or mutate creature you're going for, I should say. It's also really good with like Weaponize the Monsters, but we're not really doing any of that kind of stuff. It could still be the pick here, but I'm just going to go with the 2-mana cycler. All right, and here we're starting to get cut. Somebody over here is going cycling. I don't think anybody here is going cycling. So, luckily though, because we got so much cycling stuff in the first pack, we're pretty likely to, in pack 3, fill out the rest of the cycling deck. So what do I want here? A 2-mana 3/1 to just beat stick aggressively. A 4-drop 3/3 with a 1/1, probably the best like power and toughness for the cost. Gives us a lot of stuff, or just a little Garrison Cat to clutter up the board. With our curve, lots of 1/2-mana cyclers. I kind of think I just want like a 4-drop. Gives me a couple cards on board. But I'm not super sure on that one. Alright, 1 generic mana cycler plus a very castable first half of this card. We're not going to have a ton of creatures in this deck, so we won't be fighting super often, but the fact that the spell on this 1 generic mana cycler is a good spell is really nice. Definitely take this. Again, pretty late Weaponize the Monsters, so really nice for anybody who is picking up those like 2-mana red cards that create 2 creatures there, or scooping up all of the Whisper Squads. Alright, here's some of the cards that come with them. Forbidden Friendship here. 2 1/1s for 2 mana, combos well with sacrifice effects like Weaponize the Monster, and Whisper Squad does as well, where you can pull out all your copies of Whisper Squad from your deck. So red-black sacrifice is definitely a mechanic in this format. Again, more Forbidden Friendships. So if you're going for that kind of deck, it does seem like Forbidden Friendships and Tentative Connections are going pretty late in these packs. Tentative Connection being the active treason effect that temporarily steal your opponent's creature effect. in this format. So if you like Rakdos Sacrifice, definitely a thing to try out here. As you can see, it looks like white-black humans is kind of the white-black strategy in this set, but we're cycling. We're grabbing the 2-mana cycler here. Easy picks, nice and simple stuff to round out this pack, it looks like. Just taking the cycling cards that are on color. Weaponize the monsters going absolutely everywhere around this draft pod. No respect for the weaponize as well. There are no cyclers in this pack. I don't like Solid Footing, and Frenzied Raptor isn't awesome either. Only 2 toughness for 3 mana, so it trades down into like a 2-2 or a 2-1. So I'll take a weaponize now, and maybe I do get just a bunch of late Forbidden Friendships, and then we're just like, we have a little bit of a sacrifice sub-theme. Not super likely, but possible. Could take Bloodfell Caves here, so it's possible to cast Easy Prey every now and then without putting a swamp in our deck. Or we could just take a 2-mana cycler. Actually not sure which is better, but I think I'm going to go with Bloodfell Caves here. Because then if I pick any other black cyclers up, it's possible I can cast them as well. I'm not going to take the blue-black duel. I would take any duel that has red or white in it. So like I'd even take a red-green duel because I might end up with like a green cycler that every now and then I could cast. But like the completely off-color dual land, I don't think I want. But yeah, I think I kind of like having a Bloodfell Caves in here. And then yeah, I really like having a Tranquil Cove in here. Now it's mildly possible I can cast a Startling Development. I don't know why I would ever want to do that, but it is decent to have the option on rare occasions. We do get Solid Footings if we want them, but I do not want them. All right, so final pack here. What are we looking for to really round out this deck? Honestly, not much. I mean, we have a Tactician, a Flare, a Marmoset. Kind of just want a little bit more 1 generic mana cyclers, or a few more 1 generic mana cyclers, and a few more payoffs. And that would be great. I think Savai Crystal's probably good here. Gives us our 2 main colors, plus it cycles for 2. And I'm not seeing any 1 mana cyclers. So it looks like the free draft of Ikoria I'll be doing here is going to be a little bit of a primer on somewhat of how to draft the cycling deck if it's open in your pod, which is probably for the best, because that is probably the most important deck to have an idea of how to play around with. Definitely like another Lava Serpent here over another Coordinated Charge. I have a playset of that card, and definitely is primarily in here just to cycle for 2, but still taking the big cyclers over anything else. Although Swiftwater Cliffs is enticing. If we get enough blue sources, we might occasionally be able to cast the Frost Veil Ambush, which would be cool. Do I want Lava Serpent over the 1 mana cycler of Memory Leak? Probably. I only have 1 Serpent right now. Maybe not. It's also a 1 mana cycler that is an instant or sorcery. So that helps with like Spell Eater Wolverine. Maybe it's Memory Leak here, but not sure. Take the Lava Serpent out of that one. Now we have a bunch of options for 2 generic mana cyclers. I wish I just took the 1 mana one. Now that I see a 3rd Lava Serpent, I don't know if I want a 3rd one of that. Kind of want just a little combat trick now that cycles for 2. Yeah, seeing the Lava Serpent here, I wish I just took the 1 generic mana cycler, all things considered, in hindsight here. And if we see even more Lava Serpents, then I'm going to feel real bad. Oh yeah, should have taken the 1 generic mana cycler. But I suppose we do get another Snare Tactician here, and we see another 1 generic mana cycler in this pack, so maybe they're not going to completely dry up. Maybe we'll get some more after this, hopefully. Fingers crossed, that would be wonderful. But, I mean, Snare Tactician is so good, I don't think I can take it over that here. Alright, there we go. Wow, what a payoff here. This direction's really feeding us. I'm assuming these players are playing maybe Rakdos Sacrifice, some Mutate. They're not playing white-black because there's Dire Tactics in here as well. But yeah, probably a lot of fun green-based Mutate decks over there because there's not a lot of green in this pack. And I guess not Rakdos Sacrifice either because there is another Weaponize. That card is everywhere for sure. Yeah, probably a lot of green players in this pod. But yeah, definitely excellent to take the generic mana cycler there. Hopefully Snare Tacticians can kind of keep things under control for us here. To where I can just take another 1 generic mana cycler, especially because this one is castable late game as just a 6 mana 3/6. The reason I'm saying that is because maybe the pick is Flame Spill here, so we can actually get a little bit of removal in here. But with Snare Tacticians trying to control things, even like First Strikers to block with, we're kind of hoping to just play Solitaire, really, and not care about what our opponent's doing. And the best card for doing that is just going to be the card that keeps us fueled, the little 1-mana cycler. Keep us just going. Oh my god, yeah, we really get paid off here with a bunch of 1 generic mana cyclers. I'm not going to take the dual land over a 1 generic mana cycler in that last pack, but I would take it over a 2 mana cycler. 2 mana cycler or dual? Yeah, we'll take the dual here. Now we have more opportunities to cast Startling Development. I suppose it is 2 extra damage if we cast this on a Spell Eater Wolverine. Or a Spell Eater Wolverine, well, yeah, I guess technically if it has Double Strike, turning a 3-power creature into a 4-power creature, that's 2 more damage. But I guess casting it on Prickly Marmoset also would be 2 more damage, but so would cycling it, because it gets +2 when you cycle. So that's a little weird. Yeah, maybe there's a rare chance where we cast the Startling Development on our Spell Eater Wolverine to win the game instead of putting them to 2 life. Or a rare chance where we throw it on a 1/1 human or something. Now we have 2 blue dual lands to do that, which is kind of cute. Is that off chance worth having come into play tapped lands? Maybe, maybe not. 1 generic mana cycler with 4 cards left in the pack. Give me that. Get in here. Get in my belly. Draneth Healer with 3 cards left in the pack. I am in love. I am in love with how decently open our cycling deck is here. We even get to play the low land count version of this deck because of just how many 1 and 2 mana cyclers we have. With a ton of 1 generic mana cyclers, you know, even if you have just 1 land in your opening hand, you can just sit there and cycle those cards to dig to the rest of your land, so that's pretty cool. We're probably not playing Weaponize here. Probably not going with any of these duels except the white one, I'm guessing, because all of our blue cycling cards are relatively uncastable. I mean, Frostveil Ambush is a somewhat powerful card, but we need double blue to do that, and I'm not going to put any islands in the deck. So just two blue dual lands isn't going to be enough to ever cast Frostveil Ambush, and the odds of ever needing to cast Startling Development are so low. The maximum that this does is like 2 extra damage to our opponent. The vast majority of the time cycling it's going to be better, to where there might be more games where not being able to curve out, just cycling a card turn 1, then casting a card turn 2, and then a 3-mana card turn 3. There might be enough games where not doing that punishes us more than not having blue mana in our deck. So yeah, just having untapped lands is probably better than all this random colored nonsense, but I still liked having the option open. You never know. Definitely going to leave the Windscarred Crag in here, though. That's just because this is completely on color, so it helps hit both red or white. Any hand we draw that, we know our mana's good. So we're definitely not cutting anything with cycling. We're definitely not cutting Snare Tacticians. So Wolverines are on the chopping block. Day Squad Marshal is. I suppose some 2-mana cyclers that don't do much are on the chopping block. So Coordinated Charges and Easy Prey is. I guess Easy Prey is uncastable unless we put in that red-black dual land and maybe a swamp or 2. So this is probably more cuttable than Coordinated Charges. I guess we have the Savai Crystal as well. Yeah, a couple ways to maybe cast Easy Prey. But both of these cards are primarily in here just to cycle them. Let's see. With cycling decks, we can't really just do the creature piles, which is such an easy way to just see kind of what your deck's doing. In your deck build during draft. But yeah, it really doesn't work with the cycling decks, because you have to consider what cards you always cycling, what cards are you always casting, and what mana costs are those at. So I would say the vast majority of the time, we're going to want to cast Draneth Stingers, Maybe not the healers. The healers will definitely cycle a lot more often than the stingers, but we'll still want to cast them sometimes. So I think I'll still put them at 2 drops. But all of these, I would say most of the time we're just going to cycle them for 1. The most likely to get cast would be Go for Blood, followed by Vantasaur, but these blue cards are straight up never getting cast. They're always cycled. So that all goes there. 2 mana cyclers, yeah, we're never casting Coordinated Charge, or we're rarely casting Coordinated Charge, we're rarely casting Easy Prey. So all of these are almost always getting just cycled for 2. But on very rare occasions, we can finish a game off. Well, actually, Lava Serpent might get cast. Lava Serpent can get cast, but the rest of these getting cycled or on rare occasion finishing a game off by giving something Double Strike or a little pump or a different little pump. And I guess, if we have 4 mana out, no more lands in hand, and a Lava Serpent in hand, we can cast our Crystal to help hit the Lava Serpent. So sometimes the Crystal gets cast, but more often than not, I think all those 1s and 2s are getting cycled. So this is the curve of what we're actually casting. How many lands are we going to play in this deck? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 cards that cycle for 1 generic mana, 4 that cycle for 1 generic mana when we're desperate. How many cards was cycling the whole deck? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 cards was cycling in the whole deck? Oh my god, this Zenith Flare is active. Do we just cut all of the non-cyclers here? Just like whatever Weaponize, whatever Sabretooth, whatever Day Squad. Spell Eater Wolverine, I am a little bit hesitant because our creature count's real low without those Wolverines. 13 creatures. We cut down to 11 creatures. And a lot of them are expensive. Double Vantasaur, double Serpent. I guess 4 2-drop creatures. 3 3-drops. And with a ton of cyclers, we hit them a little more often than usual. Cut the Wolverines here and then just cut 6 lands, go to a 10-land deck. Can we go that bold? Not so sure about that. Man, I kind of want to read a primer on the cycling decks here, because we certainly drafted all of the cards we need. The question is how to build this pile. And that part I'm much less sure on. But overall, how that draft went, I mean, this is just excellent. This is an excellent pile of cards to be able to choose from when building this deck. Kind of like cutting Easy Prey, then we don't need any black mana. We're definitely not playing any islands in here. And we cut 5 lands, go 11 lands here. I might see if somebody has an article on this, to be honest. How many lands in a cycling deck? Ikoria. Does anybody have an article? $12 land minimum. That's just what popped up. Alright, so there's a red-white cycling deck I'm looking at. This is an article from Draft Sim. They're playing a red-white cycling deck with 12 lands in it. And they say about 12 land minimum. So I guess I'll just go with 12 lands here. I believe them. Yes, that is just 12 lands being played here, courtesy of this deck having 13 cards that say 1 mana draw a card, and 4 cards that do the same for 2 mana. Alright, yeah, I'll go 12 here. I mean, we don't have 13 1-mana cyclers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 1-mana cyclers and a boatload of 2-mana ones, but I'll still cut down to 12 lands here. I'm feeling bold. So 5, 10, 11. Yeah, 1 more land. Bam, 12 lands, and this is the deck. I would have loved to see a little bit of removal in this deck. We did see some removal and ended up passing it. So I think in hindsight, might have wanted like a Flame Spill in here. I don't like having 0 removal, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty bonkers here. So, see our colors: 13 white, 10 red. We'll just go 6 plains, 5 mountains here. 1 Windscarred Crag. So we have 5 white cards we actively want to cast all the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red cards we want to cast all the time, and then slightly more occasional white cards than occasional red cards. But that's only because of Coordinated Charge. The 5 copies of Coordinated Charge I almost never want to cast. Like, I feel like maybe there are 2 of these red cards, Go for Blood and Shredded Sails, that I rarely cast. I guess there's 3 of the white ones, Will of the All-Hunter and Double Vantisar. I think I am still good for the 6/5 in white's favor, but maybe it's in red's favor here, just because I kind of don't even want to count the Coordinated Charges as white cards, because I do feel it is going to be a rare occasion those see the stack. We'll go 6/5 here. Let's put on some Ikoria basics, and then get into the gameplay here and see how much value I can get off of our 1 free Ikoria draft. Ikoria basics, where are you? Probably already missed it. I know you're in here, hiding from me. How did I find the plains so early and I just can't find the mountain? I can't sort by set during draft. Oh, what a bummer. My apologies. I'm trying to get the perfect lands in here. It's a good omen. You got to get those flavorful lands, and you got to name your deck. And not sure what I'll name this one, but I'm going to use this time to try to think of anything at all to name this. Ooh, there we go. Crystal-y looking mountain. Sure. Not familiar with the artwork on the Ikoria basics, so I don't know what my favorites are, but these look fine. Pretty colorful. Pretty good stuff there. All right. Well, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10 2-mana cyclers. Oh, I guess we actually do have like 13 1-mana cyclers, because I wasn't counting the stingers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh yeah, 12 1-mana cyclers? Okay. Yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. Massive mountain of cycling. Mountain biking. Because bicycling, mountain cycling, mountain biking. I don't know. That's what we're gonna go with. Hopefully it's a good enough name to give me a few wins here. Any record that I have on a free draft is gonna be fine by me. And who knows, we might even trophy with a 7-win run here. It's possible with a cycling deck like this. So round 1, we're against a Thornwood Falls as the first play from our opponent. That is a green and blue dual land. So I expect that our opponent is playing some kind of green-blue mutate deck, or just like a green-blue monsters deck. I think I'm going to hold on to these cyclers to make Prickly Marmoset attack in really well, but it's possible I'm supposed to just start cycling 1 generic mana stuff right now. Do I want to play a healer? Or would I rather just cycle it to the Marmoset? I think I want to get some creatures on this board. It won't attack well into the Glimmerbell, but it is going to stem the bleeding a lot with a lot of life gain throughout this game. And get us curving out a little bit. Glimmerbell's a really great card to mutate onto, because whatever you mutate onto it is going to be a flyer that untaps. So it will be quite the threatening card, and this is a definite turn 3 Marmoset here, ready to try to slam into that Glimmerbell, even if it gets mutated onto. Our opponent has cast Primal Empathy, turn 3, really powerful value engine. If you don't have the biggest creature on the board, it'll keep putting a +1/+1 counter on your creatures each upkeep, and if you do, you just start drawing a card during your upkeep. So both of those abilities, pretty great. Primal Empathy is a really nice green-blue card in the format. Definitely have drafted some decks with that. It has been fun. Pouncing Shore Shark. All right, well, we're against that mutate deck. Shore Shark is one of the most irritating mutate cards, because these mutate decks can really consistently just mutate something every turn. And if they do that with Shore Shark, they just kill me in 5 turns here. Because I just keep recasting Marmoset. They keep bouncing it. I have nothing that can block. They just go 5, 5, 5, 5. The Mutate decks, I feel like I don't like this format for a couple reasons. The main is cycling, but the Mutate decks are also, in my opinion, incredibly uninteractive, where it's just like, have the removal for it, or get grand slammed. That being said, do I just replay Marmoset? I feel like I don't, because they're likely to just mutate again here. They don't have the mana to untap, so we'll get in for some damage. But I think I want to cycle a few cards, see if I hit my land for turn. It's possible I might have to Zenith Flare this Pouncing Shore Shark. I don't want to. But like if I don't, that thing is just going to keep slamming my face. Go for Blood could get there with a Marmoset on board. Alright, no land here, but that is okay. We gained a few life by doing that. And Zenith Flare is at 3 damage now. Shore Shark slams in for 5. We're down to 13 now, thanks to the life gain from Drannith Healer. Nothing else. We can again slam down a Marmoset, but really doesn't do much for us. We can't attack in here because they can untap their Shore Shark. Seems like a very bad idea. Yeah, I think again, we just get got pretty hard if they have a single Mutator in hand if we slam down a Marmoset. So I'm just going to keep cycling. Maybe we just try to cycle till we've cycled 19 cards here and then just Zenith Flare their face. Ooh, Shredded Sails! 4 damage to a creature with flying. How bad do I get got if they have a pump spell? They're in green. They could have +3/+3 and put a trample counter on it. They can cast that even if they untap Shore Shark, because it costs 2 mana to untap. So I'm thinking if it's good to attack in, then try to kill it, or just try to kill it. If I attack in, then try to kill it, that locks up 2 of their mana, and in response to them untapping, that's when I would shoot it. But locking up 2 of their mana doesn't really save me from anything here, because all of the pump spells I could think of that would save that just cost like 3 or less mana anyway. So I think we just attempt to cast a Shredded Sails main phase here. But it probably won't work. And I will feel pretty sad if they cast a 4 or 5 mana card to save the Shore Shark here, because then if I had attacked in, they would have spent the 2 mana to untap and they wouldn't be able to hold that card up anymore. So yeah, it's just a 1 mana way to counter that. Yeah, that works. Alright, so they would have got us with that regardless of an attack, and had I attacked, I would also just lose my Drannith Healer. So things are not looking great here, but Zenith Flare is at 5 damage now, so if they tap out, we can Zenith Flare the Pouncing Shore Shark. Again, I don't really want to do that, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. If I had 2 Zenith Flares in this deck, I would so easily just be like, alright, pop that Shore Shark, get it out of here. But having only 1 does leave me a little bit hesitant, because it is my main win condition if they can control the board. Parcel Beast. They're not going to mutate onto the Shore Shark. Interesting. Just play a 2/4 here. We do draw land now, so we can Zenith Flare. They have 2 mana to untap Shore Shark. Kind of tricks could they have for 2 mana? They could have another Sudden Spinnerets for +1/+3, make it 7 toughness, and then I'm super doomed. I do have enough life, especially with Drannith Healer on the board, to just sit here and cycle a few more cards to make absolutely certain Zenith Flare can finish off the Shore Shark, but then they'll be untapped, so they'll have more than 2 mana up for more potential tricks to save it. Do I just Zenith Flare the Shore Shark? Do I just cycle here? If I cycle, I can cycle a 1 mana cycler and a 2 mana cycler, or 2 2-mana cyclers, so I might as well just cycle 2 2-mana cyclers. I go to 11 life, take 5, go to 6, or I take 7 if they bounce my healer. I go really low on life, but then Zenith Flare's at like 7. There's no way I can get the Zenith Flare to like 19 fast enough, so I think that I have to just Zenith Flare the Shore Shark while they're as low on mana as possible to leave them with as few possible outs to this. Awesome, so we do get to clear that out of the way. That is excellent. But yeah, by Zenith Flaring it right there, they can't have the 3 mana +3/+3 trick. They can't have a 3 or 4 mana counterspell. Those are things that do exist in the format. Still don't feel great here, but if I draw a Snarecaster, I do feel relatively safe. Of course, they are playing blue, so they can have Essence Scatters to counter creature spells, but we can probably get them to cast one when we just cast a Prickly Marmoset this turn, because Marmoset also is just going to block things on the ground super well. Of One Mind, drawing 2 cards for our opponent, definitely keeping up with the value here with Primal Empathy, and draw spells like Of One Mind. Could play another Drannith Healer and just really try to stem the bleeding, but I think playing a creature that can present a lethal block on the Parcel Beast is just going to stop all of the damage they're dealing to us instead of just some of it, so we will attempt to cast the Prickly Marmoset, possibly getting Essence Scattered here. If it does, it's not the end of the world, we're only taking 2 damage a turn, and it isn't Essence Scattered, so I believe I just attack with Healer and then pass turn. That way I can cycle a 1 generic mana card after blocks if they attack with Parcel Beast. They have drawn like 4 or 5 cards since I've killed the Shore Shark, so it's possible they have a combat trick now that they didn't have before. Yeah, they're quite a few cards deeper into their deck than they were before. So if they make an attack here, I might not even block. They do cast a Wingfold Terran, so they have a flyer to keep getting it in the sky. I guess they only have 2 mana up here, so it would have to be another Sudden Spinnerets. Alright, so they don't attack. Happy to see that. Do I cycle Go for Blood, or do I attempt to use that on Parcel Beast? If I cycle a card to Prickly Marmoset, it'll be a 4/3, and it can fight a Parcel Beast without dying. So I kind of like just killing that. Never going to kill the Wingfold Terran unless I trade off. Yeah, maybe I cycle the Healer here, but Healer's also a great card on board for the life gain. Really keep us in things. I'm going to hold on to both of these here. Ooh, Stinger. Wow. If I want to cast a Stinger here, then I don't get to cast a Go for Blood, so Parcel Beast just kind of chills. However, Parcel Beast doesn't attack in well if I have a couple 2/2s out, plus leave the Marmoset up. So cast a Stinger, maybe even cast a Healer. I could cast Stealer and Healer, and then they might still not attack with the Parcel Beast, but now whenever I'm cycling a card, I'd be gaining 2 and hitting them for 1. If I put both on the board right now, I really like my defensive options here, so I think I'm just going to hold off again. I'll just deal with only gaining 1 instead of 2 for a moment. We are letting the Parcel Beast go off, which is the problem with playing the Stinger here. Maybe better to kill that immediately. Definitely unsure. We've got multiple options at pretty much all times with these cycling decks, because we're just going to always have a pretty large grip of cards. So they hit us for 3, down to 9 life, but then we'll go up to 10 when we cycle a 1 mana card, or cycle any card. I'm going to cycle a charge here. Although we're only 1 mana away from actually casting it, but they're at 18 life, so it's probably not relevant for now. Plus we have 3 of them, so we can definitely cycle 2. Alright, so they're just going to play a bunch of creatures, that's fine. We'll have decent blockers anyway. Cycle that coordinated charge. Hit them for 1, gain a life. They're down to 17 now. Do hit a land, which is great. Snare Tactician, exactly what the doctor ordered. Now we just keep firm control of this game. If they can't deal with the Snare Tactician, we're now going to cycle a coordinated charge when they go to combat to tap down their flyer. Then we have a 4/3 First Striker to block with. Then when we come back to our turn, we can tap their whole field by just cycling a bunch of cards and just kill them right there, like if they tap out here. I feel like if they don't tap out, I'm not going to go for that play, but it's a play we could go for. We're certainly just cycling coordinated charge and tapping down Terran. Like, that's just a guarantee, because then Marmoset blocks the Goryak, Snare Tactician blocks the Otter. If they mutate flying onto one of their other creatures, we'll probably have to tap that down instead and still take 3, which is not great. Would be super spicy if we had a few 1-mana cyclers here. I guess we can cycle Healer and go for blood. Go for Blood's such an unfortunate name because it's impossible for me to say that without sounding exactly like I'm saying Gopher, blood, which is pretty disgusting. Yeah, maybe the right play, if they give another thing flying, the right place to cycle both the 1-mana cyclers, even though they're good cards individually. But if they don't make another flyer here, we just cycle the 1 charge and we're fine. So we'll see. Oh, Lord. Well, this is probably a double cycle turn. It's not a flyer, but gonna tap down one of our creatures, so tap down the Marmoset here. And now they have a 7/7. Yeah, I mean, we gotta tap that down, and we should tap down the flyer as well. Yeah, I'm gonna cycle the Go for Blood first. Tap the 7/7. Damage them, gain a life. Alright, so I cycled that first in case I hit another 1-mana cycler, then maybe I wouldn't have to cycle the Healer as well. But I'm going to cycle both here. Tap both down, damage them a bit. They have 4 mana up here. We've got another Snare Tactician. Ooh, baby. 1 cycler is going to tap down pretty much the whole field. Alright, so what is this? Some kind of trick? You can kill my Drannith Healer if you have a trick. I'll give you that one. I suppose +3/+3 and a trample counter. Then they would draw a card, but then I just kill them, right? Well, no. No, I don't. Because I only have 4 power. Because Prickly Marmoset stays tapped. That's what's so good about the Archipelagore. If Prickly Marmoset was going to untap here, we could definitely kill our opponent. But we only have 6 power on the board if I do no blocks. Even if I tap their whole field, I'm cycling like 3 cards maximum if I draw a 1-mana cycler. So I deal 3 damage, they go to 12, and then I hit them for 6. Definitely not lethal here, so we do need to focus on surviving a few turns here. So if they have +3/+3 and a trample counter, then that turns into a 5/5 trampler. Do I have any good blocks against a 5/5? I have no good blocks against a 5/5. And I think Healer is the only creature I can put at risk. I definitely can't put the Tactician at risk. That is so important on future turns. Maybe the Stinger over the Healer because I am at a low life total. I'm just going to block like that. We'll see what they have. Probably +3/+3 trample. Nothing. Okay, well, I'll take the trade all day then. So they have a 4/3 and all their tramplers can now deal damage to me as though they weren't blocked. But we're not planning on having to block anytime soon. We're planning on Snare Tacticianing down everything for the rest of the game by having double Tactician. So we're going to cycle a 2-mana card and hopefully draw a 1-mana one if we're really lucky. We don't have any attacks here because we're going to be cycling on blocks to tap down the 7/7 and the 3/6. They probably mutate onto Archipelagore, keep the Marmoset locked down again. I guess it's possible we mill our opponent out. It's not likely. They're down to 13 cards though. They are drawing more cards than the cycling deck, which is incredibly impressive. This blue deck certainly has the card draw. Oh, we get the 1-mana cycler. Give me that gas. I'll absolutely take no damage this turn. Thank you very much. I am pretty terrified at 10 life against this Wild Bonder, because they could just have like a double pump spell or something fancy to kill me, but now nothing's hitting me this turn. They do have a Dreamtail Heron, but they choose to just cast it rather than mutate it, and a Flycatcher Giraffe Red. Ooh, lethal on board. Since they did not tap down the Marmoset with their mutate here, they do have 1 blue mana up, but I'm pretty sure we're very fine. We could even cast a coordinated charge here, but it's definitely worse than tapping down both of the blockers. Pretty sure this is well above lethal by tapping down all the blockers and doing extra damage to them, but we'll make sure. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh yeah. I do not believe there's like a 1 blue card that could save them. There's Raking Claws as well for double strike. Good lord. Well, there's 12 damage right there. They're at 11. And they have no instant speed tricks there. So that first game, they're really showing off the power of red-white cycling as an archetype in this format. Our opponent had a really well-drafted green-blue mutate deck with a lot of value going for them. They drew so many cards throughout the game off of Primal Empathy, but in the end, it just didn't matter because we got to cycle far enough in our deck to hit multiple tacticians and just take over the game with that. Didn't even have to use the Zenith Flare as a win condition, just used it to save ourselves there. So pretty ridiculous showing from red-white cycling as an archetype, more so than anything there. I do think our opponent had a great deck, pretty solid start, and a lot of value, but some of the cycling cards and just the synergies available are just too ridiculous. The Snare Tactician's really being huge there. As I said during the draft, being such a fantastic defensive card, allowing you to sit there, keep tapping things down as you're cycling, searching for your next win condition. And then when you get like 2 of them out, then it's like, all right, we turn this around, now we just tap the whole field and slam in for lethal. So really, really beautiful stuff from the Snare Tacticians. So this hand's a little awkward. We definitely need to draw some enablers, some cards to actually put on the board. Or not enablers, but payoffs. But we have so much cycling in the hand here that hopefully we can just hit them. Probably cycle the 2-mana cycler here. See what we get. But I can hold up Shredded Sails. Pretty unlikely. But maybe they have, like, they play a white mana here and then mutate the flyer onto the symbiote or something. But I think if they had that, it would get a +1/+1 counter from that, plus a +1/+1 counter from the flyer, so it'd be like a 5 toughness creature, and Shredded Sails wouldn't kill it. But I don't know, who knows, maybe I need to kill a flyer that they cast here. Because I'll be tapped out after I cycle, so might as well hold up our 2-mana instance. Migratory Greathorn is the play. Well, we don't have anybody to kill the symbiote, so that's just going to go off. Then grab a basic land of any color. Make that a nice big old Greathorn here. A 4/5, which is quite threatening. We'll go ahead and cycle the Coordinated Charge. See what we draw now. Raking Claws, just another cycler. Coordinated Charge, another cycler. With Lava Serpent in hand, I do like just casting the crystal here. We cast the crystal and cycle Go for Blood. It is not going to be good against a 5 toughness, 4 power creature. So I guess the other option is to cycle 2 cards here. We could cycle a 2-mana card plus a 1-mana card, then we cycle Charge and Go for Blood and have more time to hit something. If I cycle Go for Blood right now, I could hit one of my 2-mana creatures, which would be pretty big. Although it's not like we're blocking here. And Lava Serpent's probably just not even big enough by the time we cast it, because they mutate 1 more card, and this becomes at least a 5/6, even if the card that they mutate onto is smaller than a 3/4. Yeah, I'm actually just going to cycle right now. I think it's unlikely Lava Serpent actually really helps us here. We really are looking for just very specific cards like a Snare Tactician. So we cycle right now in case we hit like a Dranith card to cast. But if we don't, we're just going to cycle another 2-mana card. We'll not play the crystal. We're not actually trying to get to 6 mana here. I mean, we are, but it's not our number 1 goal. Our number 1 goal is certainly the Snare Tactician. Or the Zenith Flare. But we're certainly looking for answers to this. Oh yeah, so another Migratory Greathorn does make it a 5/6. Which outclasses our Lava Serpent, so trying to go all in on that by ramping into it with the crystal isn't going to help. But there's still an argument for ramping with the crystal because it means more cycling on future turns. But I think I just want to see as many cards as quickly as possible rather than holding off for later, because the quicker that we find a way to slow down this Greathorn, the better. We are really getting slammed here. There's a Snare Tactician. Do we have a 1-mana cycler in hand? No. Rough. Do we still cast it? I feel like I don't even cast it until I can cycle something for it, because if I cast it here and then they cast a removal spell, they just hit me for 5. If I cast it here and they don't cast a removal spell, they just hit me for 5. So, Snare Tactician doesn't do anything actively on this board, but it will when we have 5 mana, because then we can cast it and have the mana to immediately tap down a Greathorn. Although if we cast it here and it doesn't die, then we could cast it next turn, cast a Serpent maybe? Well, no, we'll only have 5 mana, not 6. I don't know, I actually think I want to hold on the Snare Tactician, because I just really don't like the potential to... Yeah, we got 5 mana in hand already, and we have Snare Tactician. We do want as many cyclers as possible. I don't like the potential for the Snare Tactician to die before we can tap anything with it, and if we have the mana to cycle something, and they only have sorcery speed removal, then the bare minimum is that we get to tap down 1 card. I guess if we played Crystal, it's more likely we get to cycle 2 things in 1 turn, which would probably be good. Yeah, no, I should have slammed down Crystal there. That was definitely not the play. Because, yeah, now they just curve out on us, and we are in massive danger. Okay, so we're in the end step now? Yeah, beginning of end step. So now we cycle. We're definitely on the defensive. We'll cycle the Raking Claws here. Definitely cycle the Coordinated Charge. There's a 1-mana cycler. Come on, another one. Ooh, another Snare Tactician. Oh, man. That was a huge punt, not putting the Sevi Crystal down. Because if I had, then I'd have 6 mana now, so I could cast Snare Tactician, cycle a 1-mana cycler, and cycle a 2-mana cycler. So I could tap down 2 creatures here, and that would have been really important. We definitely wouldn't just cast double Tactician here. I think that's pretty bad. Yeah, I really should have cast that Crystal. That's pretty huge here. But without it, we can still cycle the 1-mana cycler and just fingers crossed that we're the luckiest player ever. I mean, we're taking 5 damage here, even if they kill the Tactician, because we get to tap down the Greathorn. And then we do have another Tactician afterwards. But again, we would be needing that mana to be able to cycle twice after that. Oh, Lord, a Trumpeting Gnar. That's really, really bad, because now they're spreading their field wider while they're mutating, while also pulling lands out of the deck, while also making the Greathorn bigger. Mutate stacks back at it again. Trumpeting Gnar actually one of the best cards they could have here, because we can, with the cycling deck, we can counteract these mutate stacks by just keeping them tapped, but if they're also making their board wider every time they mutate, that is a huge problem. Ooh, Zenith Flare. I mean, they're at 27. I guess we kill the Greathorn with that, which is nice. I don't expect a trick from them. If they have a trick, I'm pretty screwed either way. Yeah, if I don't block and they have a trick, I'm just dead. Because I go down to 3 life if I don't block, so like the +3/+3 trick or something like that would just demolish my soul. We know they don't have a trick, so I can just Zenith Flare the Greathorn, so I can gain 8 life this turn, go to 13 life, block the Herdbonder again, and then they have, they have 6 damage coming to me next turn? Definitely seems like the play. Yeah, we know they don't have a combat trick, because they 100% would have used it to kill the Snare Tactician. So I think I Zenith Flare the Greathorn. This is like the #1 time we know that it's going to die. If we give them another draw step, it's possible they find a way to stop that, or it's possible they have a way to stop it if they had more mana up. So by them being low, and we know they didn't use anything when we blocked, we know that we're safe to kill that there, where we wouldn't be in the future. We could have gone for a line of just dropping Tactician and going for a double tap there, but I like just dealing with that when we know that it's a guaranteed safe play. And now we have a 1-mana cycler and a 2-mana cycler, so here we play Snare Tactician. We can tap their whole field with both of these. We could also cast Drannith Healer, but then we can't cycle anything, so we can't afford to do that. If we don't cycle anything, we die. So as much as I would love to gain life here, I can't afford to. Again, had I played that crystal, yeah, really showing I did not play ideally here. Had I played the crystal, I'd have 7 mana, so I could spend 3 on Tactician, 2 on Healer, and still have 2 mana up to cycle one of these 2 cards. But I just can't cast Healer here without... I can't cast Healer here and still have the mana to cycle something, so I just can't cast Healer here, period. Would it be worth it to only tap 2 cards and hold on to Healer in the future? I have enough mana to cast Healer and cycle 2 things next turn. So if I cycle 1 thing here, they just attack with a 3/3 and a 2/4? I can block the 2/4? Maybe. Maybe just cycle 1 thing here. I could see that. Cycle 1 thing here and then start trying to gain a bunch of life with Healer instead of going for the 1 mana Healer cycle. Oh, Stinger? Do we cycle Stinger then? They're at 29 and our Zenith Flare's in grave. I don't think we can cycle Stinger. Or else we might mill ourselves before we kill them. I guess Prickly Marmoset probably gets there, even if we don't have Stinger. And we have 2 copies of Stinger. 2 copies of Stinger. We've got a Marmoset. Plus, we're hitting them for 4 a turn if we consistently cycle 2 cards a turn. I'm going to cycle the Stinger. Maybe supposed to cycle the Healer, but I am a little coward. I died a 1 hit from a Sandworm. I am a little coward. I want to get a little bit higher life than that, in case they have, like, untap a creature. Boom. Ha. Got him. When I tap out like that. Alright, so just a Farfinder, get a land, but now they have 1 blocker for our Tacticians. It's fine. They've got 1 card in hand. They are gaining life every turn. That is a big deal. Well, we'll start gaining life every turn. I guess we could play a Lava Serpent, but then we don't have mana to cycle. Let's not kill ourselves by casting a Lava Serpent. Cast our Drannith Healer first, but Lava Serpent definitely probably something we're casting in the future. We're holding on to all the cycling cards for when they go to attacks. Tap down everything but the 1/1, block the 1/1 with Drannith Healer. They're gaining 2 a turn, and we're hitting them for 2 a turn. Are they gaining... Yeah, they're gaining 2 a turn because of Farfinder. But we can start hitting them for more whenever we can afford to cast a Lava Serpent. Here, I think we cycle the 2 mana cyclers, but hold on to the 1 mana one, so it's more likely to be able to cast a Serpent and cycle something. They're going to combat. We are going to cycle that. We've held on to the Crystal long enough. We played the long game with the Crystal, even though we pretty much 100% should not have. But because we did, we're going to take the payout and get the cycle out of the Crystal. Now we'll definitely cycle Coordinated Charge here. Although, actually, it's probably less likely that we cast Will of the All-Hunter at this point, because Coordinated Charge is 6 more damage currently. Oh, another Lava Serpent? Don't mind if I do. Don't mind if I do. They don't attack with Farfinder because it's another life gain for them. Vivien. Ooh, interesting. Well, we're going to cycle Startling Development now to kill that. They get another creature here too. Yeah, I don't really know if we get to cast a Lava Serpent now. So we can cycle our 1 mana cycling card right now to tap that down and kill Vivien. Or we could cycle our 2 mana cycler during our turn. Oh my god, a Boot Nipper too? Opponent did just draw straight gas here. Vivien plus a creature here, so they had one of these in hand last turn and didn't cast it. Maybe they didn't have enough mana. Well, now that they have 3 creatures out, I think I need to cycle a card right now. Oh my god, how many... Did they just draw like 50 cards somewhere and I didn't notice? Okay. Frontland Felidar as well that can tap stuff down. Okay, now I 100% have to tap something down now. But this is insane. I don't know how they have so many cards. Okay, yeah, cycle something now. We gotta tap 2 blockers here. Have to tap 2 things when it goes to our turn. And then we need to be able to tap things when they go to combat. We're at 10 life facing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh my god. We probably just die here. Because now they're getting 3 life a turn. This is insane. We definitely cannot afford to cast Lava Serpent this turn. It's more likely that we have the time to afford to cast a Lava Serpent if we hold on to 1 mana Cyclers for the future. Although we do have 8 mana now. I only have 12 cards left in the deck. I have to like just hit a Marmoset and get a massive swing in. So the only way we kill Vivien is with a cycle right now, so I believe we have to do that. And then we hit them for 2 as well. There's Marmoset. There's Johnny. We cycle 2 cards, Serpent plus Vantasar if we play Marmoset right now. Still. And let's just hope for the Dream Draw for max damage Marmoset next turn. They can tap our creatures down with Felidar, so there's no point in even trying to block. Yeah, so Serpent Vantasar here. Cycle both of those. We tap 4 things down. We can definitely live if we tap 4 things down. The Felidar, because it has Vigilance, it can attack in with Vigilance and also tap to tap something, which I guess all of the Vigilant creatures can. So there's no way Marmoset's blocking here. They have more mana than they could possibly play around with only 2 cards here. Do they have removal for our Marmoset? They are cycling a Wilt. All right. I am pretty sure, unfortunately, that we just run out of gas here with 11 cards left. Plus, their field is so wide, even double Stare Tactician is going to have a really hard time protecting us. So they respond to tapping Oh, I guess they don't. Ooh, there's Janeth Stinger, which helps. Definitely cycle Vantasar before I cycle that. Yeah, maybe they'll let me tap down all their Vigilant creatures. Oh, never mind, the Beast is Vigilant. They have too many Vigilant creatures for me to even tap them all. So they're definitely tapping down Marmoset. So we just hit the highest power creatures then. Preserve my life total as much as possible. Oh, wait. Maybe I should have tapped 1 more Vigilant creature here. Because they can also tap down just on blocks. Just keep my Marmoset down. Like if I cycle 2 cards here to tap their whole field. Oh, not if they're tapped out. Okay, so I can tap the whole field. Coordinated Charge is a bit of a thing. Although probably not good enough. If I tap... I guess I could like tap all but 1 here. And force them into a bad block if they want to kill Marmoset. So let's see. I have enough mana to cycle all this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 mana to cycle everything. 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. About 5 mana plus 3 to cycle 2 things. They have 5 blockers though, so I want to cycle 3 things. If I cycle everything, I've cycled 4 cards. Marmoset turns into 10 power. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Maybe if I draw like my double strike card. It's our only out. Raking Claws is still in the deck. Oh, I mean, we're definitely cycling something here. So let's cycle Healer. Tap down the biggest thing, see what we draw into. Is it better to just cast Stinger here to get extra damage in? And then just tap things on blocks again for now? Or do we just go all in here? I kind of want to just go all in here. I really don't know if it's right. Let them have their little Death Toucher. I feel like I just don't have enough cycling to keep everything tapped and find an out here. Plus, this is the only time I know I can get damage in So if I draw Raking Claws for double strike, maybe we get there. Come on. Come on, Raking Claws, double strike. 24 plus 6 is 30. That's not enough damage. Well, maybe you should have played the Stinger then. But I can kill them in 2 turns if they don't have the creatures to tap my stuff down, but they do have the creatures to tap my stuff down, and I have 4 cards left in the deck. God dang it. Yeah, I think I just run out of gas here no matter what I do, because I just don't have enough cards in deck. Draneth Stinger might have been the closest way to get there, but even if I had Draneth Stinger out here, I do like 4 more damage to them. And then I wouldn't have the mana to cast a Raking Claws here anyway. Raking Claws? If I get it, I can at least put them to 3 and then it's like send a message. No. There's 3 cards left. We have Raking Claws, Frostveil, Ambush, and a land. Do I survive tapping just 2 things down here? At 18 life, I stop that. I stop that. I take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I do. Just barely survive 1 final turn. And then I don't have the fuel to do enough damage because they've just gained so much life off the alert Heat Bonder. I think that I lose this game regardless, but I didn't math up if I'd even have enough damage with the Raking Claws, and I wouldn't. I would have gotten them to like 3 life, so I don't think going all out on the Raking Claws was the correct option there. But I think regardless, I just run out of gas here since I used my Zenith Flare so early to survive. Plus I had to cycle 1 Draneth Stinger early, and did not hit the second one till now. It's just too late. Even if I played Draneth Stinger on board there, yeah, if I play Draneth Stinger on board there, I can't cycle as much as I did because I would need the cyclers on blocks since I wouldn't have it in hand. So they'd basically still be at 15, like the same life total. And then I have 3 cyclers left in the deck with a Stinger that does like 3 damage to them with not enough cycling cards to tap down the whole field. So we just mill ourselves out. Cycle too hard this game. Either route we take there. Maybe cycling that first Draneth Stinger may have been the potential misplay of the game. Potentially cost us there. I have no possible way of winning, right? Because, I mean, two actual cards left in the deck. I tap 2 things, and they could still block everything. Or at least definitely block Barmaset, or tap it down with Felidar. Yeah, there's just no way. There is just no way at this point. So yeah, biggest line that I think we could have taken differently, two different things. Savai Crystal, I think it would have been much better had we just played it out immediately. Then we could more quickly try to stabilize and get our own damage pingers out and stuff. And then maybe by doing that, that would have let us not cycle that first Draneth Stinger. I needed to more proactively be looking for ways to actually kill my opponent who's constantly gaining life there and making their board so wide. But yeah, the board just got so wide there. I feel like it all happened in 1 turn too, where it got so out of hand, where they just go like Vivien, Boot Nipper, Felidar, Sovereign, and I'm like, oh, now I just don't have enough cards left in my deck to keep tapping this stuff to get that damage. And so that was a game where I think the best we could have done may have been to just hold on to Draneth Stinger, do everything we can to get that on the board earlier. The second Draneth Stinger came out too late to matter, but the first one, maybe getting in enough chip damage there could have gotten a Prickly Marmoset to finish things off in the end. I think we definitely didn't really have a choice with Zenith Flare, although that is a possible another line. If we got like really lucky there, I could see a universe where where we could survive and hold on to Zenith Flare, but I don't think it was incredibly likely because we were at a really low life even after the Zenith Flare with a bunch of creatures slamming us after that. I think we kind of had to just get rid of that ridiculous mutate stack. Alright, so I'm cycling turn 1 there because I did really need to hit land number 2. So even though I have a card that gives us value when we're cycling, it is worth it to cycle to hit the lands that we need. And we might even cast this crystal just for red mana, because I just don't have a guarantee that I hit red mana without playing this. I'm just hoping for the red off the top, but maybe not. So we are playing against white-black this time around. Yeah, and then maybe we could just cast a Vantasar this game. Sure. We'll play it a little weird here. We'll get the crystal out. Who would ever hard cast a crystal? Definitely not me. Definitely didn't punt hard last game, not doing so. Alright, 3 mana Snare Tactician. Alright, cycling mirror match, here we go. They got the 1 mana cycler, they got the Snare Tactician now. Yeah, we're looking for gas, and we have Zenith Flare in hand to make massive, so we'll cycle our 1 mana cycler. That is uncastable. There's another one. There's a Go for Blood with not enough power to trade here. Definitely cycle the blue card. What have we got? Another coordinated charge. We'll cycle that. This might be a game where we just sit here gaining life off of healer and wait till we've cycled 20 cards. I could see it. I could see it. We're getting close to Vantasar mana. We have 4. We need 2 more mana here. We could hit a land this turn. Do I cycle Go for Blood? We're not going to have enough power to fight a Snare Tactician until we have a Vantasar out, and that's pretty far from now. Maybe we cycle a healer instead, but I kind of like the idea of having double healer and just sitting here on my butt. They can tap them down as much as they want. I'll just sit here gaining a million. Go for Blood is also one of the only removal spells in my whole deck. It's one of the only ways I could possibly ever deal with the Tactician. Yeah, a little unsure about that. Maybe we don't even cycle anything, but I feel like we keep cycling. We have Flare in hand. Just try to get 20 in grave as quick as possible. Or draw a Stinger as quick as possible. Yeah, I'll cycle the healer here. Another land, there we go. 1 mana from the Vantasar. Big enough to fight and kill the Tactician. Which could be big. Our opponent is on white-black though, so could be humans with a cycling sub-theme. Definitely no blocks here. We would just be chump blocking 2 damage when we have a consistent source of life gain on the board. Alright, Bushmeat Poacher. Looks like just humans with the cycling sub-theme then. And there we go, 6th mana for the Vantasar. We will cast it just so I have a way to potentially kill the Tactician, if nothing else. Unfortunately, though, they do have a 2/4 out now, so the Vantasar isn't really attacking them. But it is blocking super well once we tap down, or once we kill their Tactician. And in black-white, if they have removal to kill this, it probably just throws it in the graveyard. And if they throw it in the graveyard, it does fuel the Zenith Flare, whether we cast it or cycled it this game. Drannith Stinger, get on this board, my friend. I love you. Now we're getting in that chip damage, makes Zenith Flare lethal faster. Oh no, Sanctuary Lockdown, +1/+1 to all the humans makes Go for Blood no longer lethal, so are we just cycling it? Probably. The plan of fighting that Snare Tactician is no longer particularly relevant here. Yeah, we'll likely cycle a Coordinated Charge and Go for Blood here, but cycling is an instant speed mechanic, part of the massive power of that mechanic, so we're just going to wait until their turn. I suppose we could cycle Go for Blood and potentially draw a Snare Tactician to put on this board, but I think I'm going to cycle Coordinated Charge first in case we hit another 2 mana cycler to do that instead. At 19 life here, with a 5 damage flare already, with 2 more cyclers to throw in grave, we put them to 17 by cycling both of these, plus Zenith Flare goes to 7. So definitely on our way to lethal. Still relatively far from it, but we're on our way. Cycling this Raking Claws because we're not going to be able to hit them unless we get some Tacticians here. Alright. Kind of just chilling, doing our thing still, I think. I'm going to just cycle the Go for Blood right now. because it's incredibly unlikely to matter. All their stuff is really high toughness already. And then maybe we hit something relevant. I don't think a Vantasaur is relevant. I think I would rather cycle it and get a guaranteed damage in here, plus make Zenith Flare better. Yeah, I'll cycle that, see if we hit. Tactician is definitely relevant. Vantasaur, I think, is better as just a cycler here on this board. I guess I can hold up the mana for Zenith Flare if something dramatically terrible happens here now. The odds of us wanting to cast that are super, super low, though. And if we cycle Sails, we do still have 3 mana up to cast that Snare Tactician, so sure. Cycle the Sails. Again, Snare Tactician makes it so even if your opponent has like the biggest creatures in the universe, you can just tap them all down and get in for damage. So sure, their creatures outclass us, but Snare Tactician still super matters here, because then we just cycle 2 cards, tap down their field, slam in with all this stuff. So a Dirge Bat will start hitting us in the sky, but thanks to our Dranith Healer, we'll be at more than enough life to just take that flying chip damage, plus the Zenith Flare as well being helpful there. Oh, I got a severe thunderstorm watch warning. That is what I'm talking about. That is the good weather right there. So we are taking 3 in the sky. Down to 24. Zenith Flare is 10 damage now. It'll be 11 after I cycle this Will of the All-Hunter. We are so close. So close to lethal. We do need to remember Bushmeat Poacher's ability. They gain life equal to the toughness of whatever they sacrifice, so they can gain 4 life plus 1 from Remembrance. So we need to remember that and not accidentally Zenith Flare when it's not lethal, because that could be disastrous for us. We need to get the Zenith Flare actually quite a bit over lethal to be safe. So we're on our way to doing that. We're not there yet. We're definitely not casting it yet, but there we go. Startling Development plus Coordinated Charge. Super helpful. So they can gain 6 life with that 1 mana whenever they need it. So they're at 17 right now. 13 won't do it. So at essentially 17, we definitely cycle the charge. Just keep doing our thing. They're at 16 now. Zenith Flare is not enough. Cycle the charge. Then we don't have the mana to cast Zenith Flare, so we gotta wait till next turn regardless. What do we got here? Lava Serpent? Yeah, we cycle that. Alright, Zenith Flare is definitely enough now. They can gain 6 life at instant speed, but 9 plus 6 is 15, so we just cycle Lava Serpent in the end step. Maybe even draw another 1 mana cycler and cycle that too, and then go ahead and kill him. The issue is they can sacrifice something right now, plus next turn with the Poacher, so maybe they do gain enough to get out of this Zenith Flare another turn. But hopefully not. Hopefully I draw enough cyclers to still get them here. We're down to 11 cards in the deck already. Cycling is such a ridiculous strategy. We still have 4 lands left in the deck. Whenever we hit a land, we are stuck for the turn. But other than that, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we only have 4 more cyclers in the deck in these 11 cards. That's a third of the deck, though. I guess my number one just hopes and dreams here would be that they just tap out for some reason. Super unlikely, but maybe they will. So Perimeter Sergeant is the play. They still have the 1 mana up for the Poacher, so they can gain 6 life instant speed here. We could hard cast a Serpent, but it doesn't really do much. Like, we attack in and we trade for Sergeant or Tactician, or again with the ability to just tap our stuff down. More likely to just get that chip damage and make our flare bigger. Gets us there. We do need to draw a Cycler, though. Come on, not a land. There we go, Cycler. It's a Dranith Stinger as well. Do I just hold on to that? What happens if I cycle right now? They go to 10 life. They go to 10 life and Zenith Flare is 17. So 10 life, they can gain 5. That's not enough. Yeah, we just cycle right now because it's lethal. Zenith Flare is lethal now. Alright, I need to be damn sure this is lethal, but I'm pretty sure. 10 life when we can hit for 17. Bushmeat Poacher gains them life equal to toughness plus Bastion of Remembrance. They gain 4 plus 1. They gain 5. Yeah, they can't sack the poacher itself, so they don't actually gain 6. All right. 17. They've got 1 mana up. So they have like a main deck, 1 mana, gain a ton. Yeah, I would have to gain so much life. I don't think there's a way out of this, because they only have 1 mana up. If they had like 2 mana up, then maybe they like sack the poacher plus have a main decked life gain card. But the fact that they can only do one or the other, I don't think there's any main deckable life gain card that would gain 8 life here. And they can't gain 8 life on board. Alright, so 2 and 1 now with our mountain biking deck. I don't know, it's a name. Don't at me. Heading into round 4 now. Got at least a couple wins out of this, at least a good little bit of value. Some cards for the collection, some extra packs. But I'm going to take this deck as far as I can take it. Which is hopefully all the way to 7 wins. So here we are, round 4. We got 1 mana cyclers to draw the lands we need. Definite keep here with that Snare Tactician coming out early, trying to get a firm control over the game. If they don't have removal, it likely will. And here we are, the cycling mirror match. We do hit our red source turn 2 as well, which is wonderful. Definitely going to cycle the Will before the Crystal here, because we do have double Vantasaur that we might want to cast. Unlikely that we do, but it is always possible. And Dranith Healer turn 2 from our opponent, very nice. We just saw in our last game how nice that card can be. Just keeping you alive, giving you tons of breathing room to start doing all of your cycling tricks to your heart's content. We do have the 4th mana now for the Vantasaurs. I could go Windscarred Crag, cast Crystal next turn. Depends on what they do here, how proactive I need to get. With the Crystalline Giant, I think we have to get pretty defensive and start cycling things. If that gets hexproof, we are in a world of hurt. We probably... Actually, Shredded Sails just destroys an artifact. Well, this is kind of what I was talking about, where I said that sometimes these cards just get hardcast randomly, and you're always happy when they do. Because the only time you will cast them is when they're incredibly irrelevant, or incredibly relevant, like right now. Could play a land and cycle the Crystal, because I can't play the Crystal till turn 5 anyway. Right? Because now I just play Crag, and then turn 5 I play my 5th mana, and then like on turn 6 I have 6 mana for Vantasaurs if I hit a land. So maybe I play Plains and cycle Crystal here. I don't know. I also like holding on to the cycling for when I actually need to tap something, so I'll just play the tapped land here and attack in. I'm not so sure how likely it is I'll be casting Crystal now that I have 5 out of 6 mana for the Vantasaurs. I think if I just top deck a basic land, I'm almost definitely not casting the Crystal this time. But who knows, it could be a massive mistake like the last time I tried. So Sanctuary Lockdown from our opponent, giving their humans +1/+1. They get to bash in for 3, or have a good blocker for the Tactician here. Alright, bash in for 3 it is. There's a Zenith Flare in hand. Does that get me to where I want to cycle these Vantasaurs? No, right? No, maybe. I kind of want to just play 3/6s against this 3/3. I mean, they have 4 cards in hand, so they could play bigger stuff, but I have a big old 3/6 Vigilant creatures, especially with stuff to tap their creatures down and get in. Could be enough to just close this game out in a really standard fashion. Yeah, this is kind of weird, but I'm going to try to crystal out these Vantasaurs next turn. I suppose if they play like a 5/5 or something here, that's a world of pain, and then I just hold on to the Vantasaurs to tap stuff down for 1 mana with Snare Tactician's ability. But kind of just hoping they've got an awkward hand here, and they just have more 2/2s or something like that. Or nothing, I will take that as well. Well, we've got the We've got the Zenith Flare and the other Cycler to start going back to our main game plan after this if need be, but for now, let's just pretend that we're a weird dinosaur deck. Start playing some imposing Vantasaurs. Just chip it in there. Might as well send some creatures in. They'll do the job efficiently enough. Rock Slide with 6 lands out to take out that. Well, I mean, I guess worst case scenario there. At least they killed that instead of the Tactician. So we actually, I think, got more value out of the Vantasaur than we would have cycling it because we pulled a removal spell out of their hand, which is definitely nice. And now we just play another one. We are at 12, so I need to start getting a little bit worried about my life total, and a little worried about cycling to defend myself, but they're also at 14. So... And we have 2 Cyclers in hand, so we're doing pretty well defensively. Another Rumbling Rock Slide on the 3/6. Take 6 here, sure. With Tactician out, I'm still feeling real warm and cozy. With them using all the removal on that instead. Yeah, to the point where I will just attack with Tactician. Get them down to 12, get them closer to dead to the Zenith Flare. Maybe should have cycled main phase, but probably not, because I think I need to stop this damage at this point. I mean, I definitely have to stop at least 3 of it, but I think I have to play it safe and stop it all. Ooh, Drannith Healer? If I knew that a Drannith Healer was right on top, maybe it would have been better to just cycle immediately. But there's no way to know that. Drannith Stinger too. Zenith Flare doing 7 damage now. Things are looking real spicy. So it does 7 damage, it does 9 if I cycle both of these. We hit for 2, put them to 11. Or put them to 10, not 11. So we just need to cycle 1 more card to win. Do I cycle right now? Possibly just get the win immediately? Probably not. No, they have double Drannith Healer on board. Going all in is really, really sketchy, because they could just have a single Cycler in hand, and then like gain 2, and then my all-in play. But it's still fine, because I gain a bunch of life. I guess it's not that bad if I go all in and they have a Cycler in hand. But I still feel like I'd rather have the Drannith cards out. Or at least one of them. So Stinger adds 1 more damage either way. Whether we cycle it or play it. So I'd rather play it so I can attack with it next turn and get them much lower than need be, so I can kill them even if they cycle multiple cards. So I think I like playing just that. Now we can Drannith Healer to tap down theirs. If they have any instant speed burn spell to finish me off, we can Zenith Flare their face in response to put them low enough to just kill them on the crackback. So there's a Snare Tactician of their own. Hopefully no cycling in their hand. Be really disastrous now because it's going to get them out of range of the Zenith Flare plus tap down a blocker, which is really terrifying. Although I guess I'm not blocking with Drannith Stinger anyway. But it taps down our attackers, I guess, too. Just another land for us. Attack with the healer, no blocks. We'll just flare their face if they pump spell or burn spell here. Raking Claws? Alright, well, we flare their face, right? Flare their face, all we have to do is draw a Cycler and we win. Actually, we could just attack with both creatures and win that way also. I could Zenith Flare the healer, but then they're still at 9 life. That seems dramatically worse. We can take 6 damage if we gain 8. Yeah, flare the face here. We win if we top deck a Cycler, pretty much no matter what they have. And if we don't, we could just attack both creatures if they have nothing. Win that way. Alright, they have nothing, so just attack both. And we top deck the Cycler, so really lucky draw there too. So 3-1 it'll be no matter what. Getting an average record out of this one. So as you could see during the draft, there were a lot of points where I wasn't super sure. Like I haven't drafted this set super much, so I don't think I drafted this cycling deck as well as was possible, but just the fact that it was decently open and the archetype is so powerful, it's going to lead us to a nice easy 3 wins to start it off at the very least. So definitely, if you see any of these kind of cards like the Stingers, the Snare Tacticians going around, pick 4, pick 5 even, I would just hop on for dear life, because this kind of strategy could definitely just ride you on to victory, even with low experience with it, I would say. So our opponent starts with a turn 1 Mysterious Egg, definitely doing some mutate here. Aegis Turtle as well, another kind of card you're really only going to see in the mutate decks. And we do get Zenith Flare in the opener with the turn 2 Stinger. So we've got a game plan here. We are going to be going the combo route, not like what we were trying to do last game. Last game we played some Vantasars to maybe attack. This game we're just going to cycle everything we draw all game and hopefully just deal 20 to them without attacking before they kill us with their own stuff. Just cycle as quickly as possible, get this Stinger bashing in their face. But that being said, Mysterious Egg with a Great Horn on it is going to be slamming in pretty hard here yet again. So that is going to be painful. Is it worth playing a healer rather than cycling the healer? So I can gain a little bit of life, mitigate some of that damage. I think so, and then we can chump block with these things whenever we need to like make Zenith Flare lethal later on. Then they're in the grave still adding to Zenith Flare's damage. So I think I am playing healer here. Can also block smaller creatures of theirs if they play any. So now we just cycle Vantasar, deal 1 to them, gain 1. They're not going to block here, there's no point. Even though we don't really want to block ourselves. I guess I could attack with Stinger, and then I play around their spell that's like +7/+7 to a creature, and it has to be blocked. That is one card in this format. I forget what it's called, like Monstrous Stomp or something. Yeah, maybe that was a time we're supposed to just attack with the Stinger to play around Monstrous Stomp randomly. Ooh, this is like the 5-color mutate deck too, so really cool stuff from our opponent. Great Horn does enable a lot of these kind of shenanigans. As you can see, Great Horn, very popular, very powerful card. Kind of lending a little more credence to my just pick 1 pack 1 Great Horn of like, well, this pack's not so good, so I guess Great Horn. But yeah, we're in a world of pain here because now that is a flying 6/6 flyer. We need something like a Snare Tactician now, or we're getting massively slammed. Alright, bunch of 1-mana cyclers at least, if nothing else here. Could play a Crystal and then cycle a 1-mana cycler. I think I'd rather cycle multiple 1-mana cyclers than play Crystal here for 1 cycle this turn. Watch, I lose every game that I cycle the Crystal. The Crystal just sending me a message, it's like, dude, come on. Get me on the board, get some more mana out there. You know you want to. I have 4 mana now. Maybe I do play the Crystal. Probably not. I really don't want to run out of cards and just hit a bunch of lands. Who knows? Well, we can't block anything, so we get in for 2 extra damage here. Speed up the clock. They're tapped out, so they're not going to kill one of our creatures. They're down to 17. We can play Crystal and cycle, go for blood, or we can cycle, go for blood and coordinated charge. We cycle 2 cards here, put them to 15, go to 15, or cycle 1 card and have a Crystal out so we have 5 mana next turn. Did I learn my lesson? Did I learn my lesson last time? That being said, this is also a game I really need to draw Snare Tactician. So I really need to dig as far deep as I can to find anything to slow down this Phoenix anymore. And by gaining a little more life this turn, that is also helpful. It's your boy, Goblet, never learning his lesson. We are not going to cast Savai Crystal. We're going to take 6 to the face. We're dead in 2 more attacks after this. In terms of on board. Maybe I'll cycle enough to survive 2 more attacks. That'd be really cool, but probably not. I suppose it is possible, especially with Zenith Flare, but I don't really want to Zenith Flare the Phoenix, because then they could just bring this thing back. Yeah, they just bring it back and I die to it that way. 2 Thieving Otters. I guess I could kill one of those with a Go for Blood, so cycle the 2-mana cycler first. Because I might hit a different 1-mana cycler. In which case, maybe I hit like land, Tactician, and I play Tactician, Go for Blood to kill Otter if I hit a land here. How likely is that? I think I don't cycle the Go for Blood either way, because now I can use the Go for Blood to tap down the Phoenix. Yeah, I definitely, okay. Alright, I definitely don't cycle the Go for Blood there. And I hit the land, so I could cast it, but I need to cycle it here. So we're going to play Snare Tactician. Now we can tap down the Phoenix, and we can block the Otters. Block an Otter with a Healer and an Otter with a Tactician. And then just, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm feeling pretty safe now, but our opponent still has cards in hand, 2 left to play around with. So we'll see. See if they have outs to this. Hopefully not. I am quite scared though. Dreamtail Heron to make that Thieving Otter flyer. We don't have an instant speed response to that, so that's just going to hit us in the sky and draw them a card. We just let them draw as many cards as possible, or do we tap down the 3-power one instead? I really feel like I have to tap down the 6-power one, because going down to, what, 3 life here is so bad. If I, I'd gain 1 life and then take 6, so 9 down to 3. Although I do get to cycle 2 cards next turn, guaranteed, and tap them both down. I don't want our opponent to draw another card here, but I also don't want to randomly die to +3/+3. Although I suppose that card that I keep playing around is a 3-mana card. Oh, Shredded Sails! And Shredded Sails is enough to kill a Dreamtail Heron. So that's really cool. Okay, well, show me the trick. Show me the trick. I definitely can't afford to block with Tactician, and I feel like I can afford to block with Healer before I can block with Stinger. But I also don't know how much I can afford to block with Healer, because I do need life. I do need life, but with Tactician on board, if they don't kill Tactician, I feel like they would have killed Tactician already, if that's what their plan was here. So I think I trade with Healer, because we're just trying to get Stinger to kill them as quickly as possible now. We Sails the Heron and then cycle something to tap the Phoenix, and then we take no damage next turn, if they don't have a trick here. And I can't afford to just call their bluff and block with Tactician, because Tactician's the only way I just don't straight up die next turn. Okay, they do have a trick. Alright. So Heron gets in, draws a card, but we get to kill that. They only have 1 card in hand. We get to kill that, cycle to tap the Phoenix. So while they're tapped out, we're going to kill the Heron. And that puts another cycler in our grave for Zenith Flare. Are you secretly not tapped out? Am I forgetting something here? They have Evolving Wilds that doesn't make mana. Okay. They are fully tapped out. So now we can cycle 2 cards here. We cycle Coordinated Charge and Go for Blood. Or I can play Go for Blood, but then I don't cycle anything and I just die. So I don't play that. I cycle Charge, tap down that, cycle Go for Blood, tap down that. We just keep cycling 2 cards a turn until Zenith Flare is lethal, with Janeth Stinger dealing a little bit of chip damage every time. Yep. We've got our plan. I don't even die if they cast a Lava Serpent here, because then I could just tap Lava Serpent, so we get the extra 2 damage here to make it even faster. Or make the Zenith Flare kill even faster. Because we are not going to make any blocks. If we're put into a position where we're going to have to block, we're going to die anyway, and there shouldn't be anything they can do that'll force us to block here, because we can tap 2 things no matter what happens. I guess they could have some kind of trick that gives hexproof, so I could try to tap Phoenix and they give it hexproof, and then I have to spend another card to tap that, and then Thieving Otter gets to get in for 2. That might be the worst case scenario, but even playing a big old 5/5 haste, I just tap the 6/6 and 5/5 haste. So I feel like the worst case scenarios here just ended me getting hit by the Otter once. I guess mutate cards also count as a big haste creature because they can throw them onto the turtle. And then I have to tap Turtle Phoenix. And there's the big mutate card. Not that big though, just 3 power. So, but it's certainly bad. It's certainly bad. So if they have that alongside a pump spell, if they have +4/+4 to Otter, I am dead. Because now I'm tapping Phoenix Greathorn. If they don't have that, they're going to 11 here, and Zenith Flare is going to 8 damage. I can hit them for 4, so that should be lethal. I suppose I should have cycled the 1-mana cycler first. That was bad of me. Because if I just hit... let's say if I hit Runner, 2 1-mana cyclers, then it's possible I get to just tap everything and be incredibly safe. And I did hit another 1-mana cycler. I didn't hit 2 of them, though, so either way I would only cycled 2 cards there. So they're at 11. They have no creatures untapped because they did attack with Otter, so we hit them for 4 down to 7. And then kill them with a Zenith Flare. Alright, yeah, now we just do that. But cycle a Go for Blood to do that. Because they are tapped out. We tap the 1 creature, hit for 4, Zenith Flare the face. Alright, that'll be another victory for the villains. I think we're the villains today. With a Zenith Flare to the face. We beat the fun 5-color mutate stuff, making a nice Everquill Phoenix stack there with the best deck in format. The cycling stuff. And we are at 4 wins now, 1,400 gems out of this. No matter what happens from this point on, 4-3 is kind of my go-to record. That's where I like to be. Right above average. Nice mediocre man over here. But again, still going to go for that trophy if I can. Although I'll feel a little bad about it. Definitely the villains today. So heading into round 6, we'll see what happens here. It's been some long rounds as well because the cycling decks do a lot of manipulating your opponent's stuff, just tapping stuff down with Snare Tacticians. The games can go really long. Most games you end up cycling through most of your deck. So it's going to be quite a long video for you all as well today. If it goes on too long, I might have to stop before the draft is over. I do have work very soon. I think I got about 40 minutes left in me. So hopefully it doesn't go on that much longer. That would be a pretty big bummer. Alright. So now we are in round 6. 4 wins and 1 loss under our belt today. We have a turn 3 Snare Tactician, and it's very likely to happen with the amount of cycling in hand to get to the 3rd land. And we are just going to cycle every turn, and our opponent has a companion, Jegantha the Wellspring. So we know they don't have any double costs in their deck, nothing with double blue or double green or double red, anything like that. But other than that, not much information to be gained from them having Jegantha as a companion, outside of the fact that they're definitely playing green or red. Not necessarily both, not necessarily only green or red, they could be 5-color here. That is where Jegantha's ability will be really helpful. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. I could cycle 2 cards here, which is probably the play. I think I really need to guarantee that I hit land 3, turn 3, so I just cycle 2 cards here. As much as I'd love to have 1-mana cyclers available later to make Snare Tactician's ability cheaper, I need to get as far into this deck as possible to guarantee land drop number 3 on turn 3. And we don't hit it, but we could play a Drannith Healer and just gain life throughout this game to give us time to hit Zenith Flare to close things out at the end. Kind of like that idea. We'll go for the Drannith Healer over the cycle. And I'll probably just play another one here. Excavation Mole, 3/3 trample, mill a few cards. Drannith Stinger. Probably go Stinger before Healer. We definitely get these onto the board. So our opponent's on green, blue, and black with a Jungle Hollow, an island, and a forest. They have a 3/3 trample on board. And an Almighty Brushwag, which can be a 4/4 trample if they pay some mana into it, plus a Hornbash Mentor. So our opponent is off to the races, starting pretty aggressively here. I could be gaining 2 life every time I cycle if I play another Drannith healer. Plus, then I can double block a 3/3 with 4 power and 4 toughness. That being said, I do really want a Snare Tactician on this board. So it could be worth going for the 1 mana cycle here, maybe hitting another 1 mana cycler or a land. If I hit either of those, we're good, because a 1 mana cycler helps me hit a land, and if I hit a land, I can cycle a 2 mana card this turn as well. Do I just cycle this healer? I feel like I fall pretty far behind if I don't get this land quickly. But 2 2/2s that I'm okay with dying is also decent against these 3/3s and 4/4s and stuff. You know, I'm going to get another healer out. I actually don't know if this is correct. Cycling decks can be definitely pretty difficult and pretty I don't know what word I'm looking for. I'm too dumb to play a cycling deck, basically, but the deck's powerful enough it'll probably carry me to, well, it already has carried me to quite a few victories regardless. We can't block there because of the threat of activation. They probably don't even want to activate it because they want to play like a 5-drop here, but if I block, they can just activate, trample over, and do some stuff. So I'm surprised they didn't activate there because they had nothing to do during their turn. I guess it's so they can put a +1/+1 counter on the mole instead. Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to say, I don't know what instant speed stuff they could have, like an Essence Scatter here, that'd be not great for us, but yeah, we'll cycle a 2 mana card here, Coordinated Charge over anything else. Gain a couple life, deal a damage to them. Anyways, as I was saying, the cycling decks can be really hard to run, but the decks are so powerful that even if you're not experienced with them or a great player like myself, they're still so powerful to draft if you see that it's open. Still just strictly the best choice to draft them over anything else if they are available. Oh wow, the Hornbash Mentor actually a counter on everything with Trample, not just one thing, so it makes the whole field bigger. That's actually quite scary. But I'm a big fan of having double healer out then, because I'm going to need as much as I can to mitigate this damage, and we're really hoping Tactician doesn't get killed by something here, because that's the definite play. So hopefully we can start tapping down that mole, because it's going to attack as a 6/6 next time. If they respond instant speed by putting a counter on it, so I'll 3-for-1 myself, blocking with all the Drannith things to kill it, which I don't think is worth it because of how good their abilities are. Ooh! Auspicious Starix, probably like the best mutator in the set in terms of the uncommons, because it mutates, makes your thing absolutely massive, and pulls out another creature. It's absolutely bonkers. So Starix is really bad for us here. They go for the attack with Mole. That's really unfortunate. The way they've been playing so far, I would not think that they would attack with Mole here, because they've been defending it so hard till now, and it can definitely still die to just trading to 2 creatures like it would have before. I don't think that we can afford the block here. I really need a basic land or a 2-mana cycler here, or I'm quite dead. I need to tap 2 things down. So I'm in a really hard spot. Luckily, we do get the basic land. So we're going to cycle 2 cards to tap down the 8/8 and the 5/5. We also we gain 4, we go to 11 when we do that. Okay. Okay, it's not horrible here. They only have 3/3s to attack with, and they probably won't. They Blood Curdle the Snare Tactician. Luckily, too late for them to stop a tap, but they will stop the taps in the future. Alright, so this is not good for us at all. I think we definitely cycle right now. We've got to get these massive creatures tapped. Now we really need like our second Tactician, I guess, and a 1-mana cycler, or we won't be able to afford to tap something next turn. Lava Serpent is not that. Six cyclers in the grave. Zenith Flare would help us live as well. We could kill something with Zenith Flare and just try to win with Drannith Stinger instead. But Auspicious Starix is very likely to just take things over here. Every time they mutate it, they get at least 1 permanent. Now they've mutated, they get 2. The next time they mutate, they get 3 permanents. Starix is just a pretty bonkers card. So we have no Snare Tactician now. How dead are we? We're probably just dead on board, to be honest. They have 13 power of trample. Without any way to tap their stuff, I think that's it. I think that's it here. We'll do everything we can, which is going to be to maybe cycle some things, make some blocks. We don't have a 1-mana cycler in hand, so even if I cycle a 2-mana card to hit Tactician, or even if I try to cycle a card to hit Tactician, it's not like I can hit Tactician and tap something down here, so I think I'm cycling instant speed to leave our instants open, just in case. This is looking massively bad for us. I also can't cycle fast enough for a Zenith Flare kill here, because we're definitely dead, if not in 1 attack, in 2 attacks. Like, we cycle 2 cards minimum, go to 15 here, in which case we still have to block a lot of stuff if they attack with everything. And then Zenith Flare is not going to be lethal because it's going to put them to 16, and we'll have 8 in grave. Oh, yeah, this is... It's real sketchy. We definitely have to cycle 2 cards here, so this was not a play the crystal turn. I guess I could cast Coordinated Charge, make these all 4 power, and just like trade there. But yeah, I just die after that. Come on, do your thing, Dranith friends. We are forced into some blocks here. 1-mana cycler plus a 2-mana cycler here. Maybe we're not. Let's see. Zenith Flare, they're at 16. That'll do 9 next turn now. It's not going to get there fast enough, I think. 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. They do 19 damage. I have to block with something. I could have all my cyclers on board die. That'd be 3 more for Zenith Flare. That'd be 11. Is that enough? Don't think so. Do not think so. If I leave Dranith Stinger on board, maybe there's a way we get to enough here. Incredibly unlikely, though. Okay, so we're at 17 life, facing 13 plus 6. Facing 19. We have to block one of them, and then we take 16. If they have a combat trick, we would just die, so maybe we block 2 of them with just the healers here, and we just try to desperately find a way for Zenith Flare to be lethal. Will of the All-Hunter. So Zenith Flare is 9, and they're at 15. If I lose all of the Dranith cards, it's going to be 12, and they're at 15. I think I keep Stinger around. I mean, I have to just kill them next turn. I'm dead. They have blockers, so I'm not attacking in with any of the Dranith cards. I guess I could kill them in 2 turns. So, because Zenith Flare is going to gain life here, so if we block like this, we die to a combat trick, but if they don't have a combat trick, then I can cycle 1 card and Zenith Flare their face if I hit a mana. If I don't hit a mana, I just Zenith Flare their face. And that might gain me enough life to survive another turn. It probably doesn't, though. Yeah, it's pretty unlikely, too. Because they're attacking with more than 13, actually, because they can use the Hornbash Mentor to just kill me here, so we have to double block. We have to double block? Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it's all over here. They don't use the Hornbash Mentor's ability, so I would be at 2 now if they went for that, but I guess they're playing another creature instead. So we're at 4 life and we can gain 11. 4 life and we gain 11. We're basically at 15 and I just die to these 2 anyway with Trample. I like chump block here and I died all this very easily. If I cycle 1 card here, Zenith Flare goes to 12 damage, in which case I go to 16 and still just die. I can Zenith Flare the 8-8, I guess, and survive, but I'm not going to survive long enough for Stinger to kill them. If I cycle a card right now, I can't even confirm that I cast Zenith Flare because I don't know if I will hit a land. I could cast a Marmoset. Marmoset doesn't exactly help because their creatures are so big. Ah, we're like so close to lethal. Put them to 14. We would put them to 14 if I cycle a card here. And then I'd have 12 engrave, and then if Stinger dies, that'd be 13 engrave. I can put them to 1 life. So I guess if I hit a land here and then I attack with Stinger and they block like that, I put them to 1 life with Zenith Flare, but that doesn't finish it off. Maybe I attack with Zenith Flare, and if they don't block, it just kills them. I mean, but they probably block. Don't block. Don't block. This is all a ruse to kill your mentor. Don't block. Oh my god. If I hit a land off of this cycle... If I hit a land off of this cycle... Come on. Sweet Jesus. Oh my god. Don't have life gain. Don't have life gain. Please, opponent. Oh my god. Are we rooting for the villains today? We are rooting for the villains today. Oh my god. We grasped that victory from the jaws of defeat there. There was no way. There was no way out of that one, but I did not scoop them up. I was like, well, you know, I guess maybe they don't want to block the Stinger because they know if the Stinger goes in the grave, it'll fuel the Flare. If I have a Flare. But if the Stinger doesn't go into the grave, it does exactly 2 more damage instead of just 1 more to the Flare. Oh, I can't breathe. That was so... That was a game. Opponent had a spicy deck too, the big mutates, the Starix. Great stuff from opponent that game. That was a phenomenal game of Magic. We are heading into what? Rounds, 5 and 1? We're round 7 now. Alright, I'm in turn 2 Healer, turn 3 Marmoset. Don't mind if I do, we got the Zenith Flare for late game. Was that enough of a moment for me to want to draft Ikoria one more time after this? I don't know. Because I'm also just incredibly busy right now with the errands and stuff during the day. I just had a bunch of car stuff I had to deal with, as well as, of course, just work. I work retail in a college town, so it's move-in time right now. So yeah, I'm overnight with overtime. So it's just not a super great time for playing lately, but wow, that game made me want to play Magic. That is the stuff that keeps the thrill alive. That was intense. So Thieving Otter and Essence Symbiote for my opponent. Luckily, Prickly Marmoset blocks all that incredibly well, but I probably just want to get attacking with it here, because like if they don't block, I hit them for 6. Zenith Flare gets pretty close to killing them pretty quickly. If they do block, I just shred these things with First Strike. We definitely get aggressive with the Marmoset. They can draw cards all they want. It's unlikely for their cards to be as powerful as Zenith Flare Marmoset combo here. So we just go for max damage. Try to close this game out real quickly. Plus with the life gain from the healer, we're pretty safe to leave our shields down at least early game. And there's a Stinger coming up too. They're already down to 14. Might even cycle the Stinger. Although I'm not so sure that's correct, because cycling Stinger gets 2 extra Marmoset damage. Casting it gets as much damage as we cycle cards. So as soon as we cycle 3 cards, it's better to cast Stinger than cycle it. So if I think I'm going to cycle at least 3 more cards this game, I just cast Stinger. And I think I will, especially with Snare Tactician here. So I think I just play Stinger Tactician and attack for 2 here. They probably kill Tactician if they have removal, which I think is actually better for me because this is the kind of hand that could aggressively kill them with Drana Stinger, Prickly Marmoset, and Zenith Flare. These are just all of the damage-dealing cycling cards to try to close things out fast. So yeah, I think I play Tactician. Maybe I do hold on to Stinger here, or at least Crystal. Get 1 less damage, but I tap down something on blocks. I don't know. I feel it's probably better to play Stinger here. Plus, with Tactician on board, if they don't have the removal for Tactician, I definitely get to attack in next turn. Possibly even with everybody, but at least with the Marmoset. Because I can tap down one thing and make sure that Marmoset as a 4/3 first striker would just shred whatever blocks it. Alright, so if they don't attack with the Otter, we'll tap that down, but I expect an attack here. That's a flyer that can draw a card when it sends in. I suppose they're down to 12 life, though. So possible. Alright, they do attack with that. We can tap down their 1 creature by cycling the Crystal. If we hit our 6th land, we can Zenith Flare the face. Now we can do it with a Starling development. That's probably lethal. That is probably lethal here. I haven't done the math, but likely lethal. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 4, that's 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 1 damage off. Cycle these 2, that's 6 more damage. 6, 7, 8 more damage. Actually, cycling these 2 might be lethal, especially if we hit our double strike card. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a game where it's just right not to cast Zenith Flare. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Cycle 1 more card. We just don't cast Zenith Flare. Weird. Weird game, but that'll just be lethal really quick. Ridiculous start from the cycling deck. Plus we hit another cycler if we want to go overboard here. Absolutely bonkers. Well, that was definitely a much faster, much more lopsided game than the last victory we had, but that does lead us into potentially the final round if we get our last win here. 6-1, heading into round 8. It's a great time for mountain bikers everywhere. We're not just bicycling, we're mountain biking. The joke gets worse every time I say it. I'm so disgusted with myself. Why can't I find good names for decks? Alright, we have turn 2 Drana Stinger. Love it. Zenith Flare late game. Love it. I like keeping the 1-mana Cycler with the Snare Tactician because it's just so big when you get those abilities with the Tacticians. Now we got multiple Tacticians. I guess actually I only had 2 lands in hand. I should have cycled the development turn 1. That was dumb. I was thinking so much of the value you get from cycling when you have Tactician on board and not thinking enough about the fact that we need the 3rd land for the Tacticians, but, you know, sometimes you have it all, and we hit the 3rd land turn 3 in the 12 land deck. Get that Tactician out there, we can tap down the blockers and just get in. Double Tactician will definitely get there. It is the mirror match here. Let's get another Tactician out past turn. And then probably start tapping the whole board, attacking in very aggressively. They will be gaining 2 life every time they cycle, so they can mitigate a lot of this damage, but we've got Stinger plus double Tactician, still a really aggressive start from us. Plus with the Zenith Flare in hand, we know we have a finisher. The Lava Axe just to the extreme level. There's a Zerda from our opponent. They can make it so a creature can't block, and it's just a 3/3, makes their abilities cost less, that's fine. Can cycle 2 cards here and tap down the whole field, hit for 6. I feel that I would rather cycle when they can actually attack me, because I don't want to get cracked back here. Like if I tap out attack with everybody, they attack for 7, and I don't have life gain on my board, whereas they do. So I think I actually just wait for their turn, and then I start cycling. Like, when they go to combat, we cycle and tap down Zerda and Healer, and then in their end step, we cycle our next card in case they play a creature post-combat, so that we can tap 4 creatures total instead of just 3 if we do it all pre-combat. So I will be... We'll be cycling our 1-mana cycler here because it's uncastable in our deck. Plus, we could hit another 1-mana cycler and then even cycle a million cards here. Get out of here, Zerda. Get out of here, healer. Don't touch me. I'm sterile. We do hit another starting development. Any post-combat creatures here? That is the question. A cycle of a shredded sails, gaining them some life. Oh, cycling does cost one less with Zerda. 2 less, but it can't reduce the ability to less than 1 mana, so that's nice. Make the 2-mana cyclers 1-mana cyclers pretty good. So they cycle 1 card there. They could cycle 3 cards. Alright, cycling all day. They're probably cycling to try to get a Zenith Flare going off. But luckily for us, we could just keep all their creatures tapped, so their Zenith Flare is going to have to be 20 to kill us immediately. Unless they have multiple Zenith Flares, that would be super bad for us. Would I rather cycle the 2-mana one while I have the mana for it, or the 1-mana one hoping to hit another 1-mana one? Rather cycle the 2-mana one. Because even if I hit another 1-mana cycler here off of the cycle, I don't want to cycle another card when I don't need to tap things down. I want to be able to do that 24/7. And especially because I'm hitting 2 lands here, I need to make sure I have plenty of cyclers to keep doing this every single turn and keep their board locked down for my board to keep hitting them. Alright, cycle of Vantasaur. This is the full-on mirror match here. Definitely the full-on cycling deck we're playing against. Some of the other decks were just like dabbling in it. I'm guessing that they were trying to be the cycling deck and then got cut a little bit, so moved into like white-black humans. Stuff like that we were playing against. But this one, this is the full-on. They were not cut, they are cycling, just like we are. They are going to combat here. So I only need to cycle 2 things here. So do we... I think we do cycle a 1-mana card here, so if they play another creature, I can tap that down too. So we'll cycle starting development here. Or so I can potentially tap that down too if I draw another 1-mana cycler. But yeah, now I definitely, well... Yeah, we have 6 mana in hand. Let's cycle the crystal. Tap down all the creatures here, and then if they do draw another creature... Hopefully we draw a 1-mana cycler. We do. Frostveil Ambush. Beautiful. Alright, so tap down. They've got 5 mana now. A Snare Tactician. Alright. That is bad. That is very bad. I am not sure how to play this one out now. So probably just tap everything we have anyway. It's going to cost 1 mana to cycle things. Do we just Zenith Flare that thing? I mean, double Drannith Healer's enough to outrace our Stinger in terms of damage. But I guess maybe they ran out of cyclers here. That would be the hope and the dream. Nope. So tap down 2 things. Or I guess they only tapped down 1 thing. They only had 1 cycler. Okay, so now they ran out of cyclers. The fact that they've ran out here means I don't think I Zenith Flare the Snare Tactician. We have 3 more cyclers in hand. Zenith Flare is going to be at least 8 damage. Like, this card's a definite finisher. And if they had another cycler, they'd use it right there. Like, straight up. So maybe we get them to a point where they run out of cyclers before we do. That would be absolutely massive. Flame Spill to kill 1 Tactician. Alright, well, we cycle in response. Well, 4 damage? +2/+2? Yeah, 1 cycle's enough. Oh, there's my phone telling me to go to work. I got time. I can still get there if I go 10-20 minutes later than now. We're going to close out this. Ooh, Frostveil Ambush to still tap down the whole field. Very nice draw. Off of the cycle. Alright. So again, just one of those times, like these random cyclers. Sometimes you cast them, and when you do, wow, is it a great deal. Wow, are you happy. We have lethal right now if they don't have a cycler, but they do have the cycler. So again, even if they didn't tap something down, just to be safe from them, like, surprise, Dranith healering us, I would still wait on the Zenith Flare. So hit for 4, they're down to 13 now, which is definitely not lethal, but I think it would have been otherwise, yeah, because we cycle a Sails and we have 4 mana up to Flare. So we cycle Sails, they wouldn't have gained 2 life, so they'd be at 11, minus 2 more because they wouldn't have tapped something. Yeah, it definitely would have been lethal if they didn't have a cycler, but it would have been a little sketchy because they could have been trying to like juke us into casting the Zenith Flare too early. Not that it would super matter here, but it could. All right, ooh, Marmoset. A little late for Marmoset. I don't think that's gonna really happen here, but quite likely we can find lethal now. But there's their Zenith Flare. They did have to use it on the defensive, which is an incredibly great deal for us. Now we can drop a Lava Serpent and just attack with that thing. But we're out of cyclers now. So I can cycle here to tap Marmoset and hit for 4, and they're down to 15 with an 11 damage Zenith Flare. That's basically down to 4. So if I get really lucky on my draws, then cycling Lava Serpent could be the play here. It's my only cycler in hand. How many cyclers left in deck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 cyclers left in the 16-card deck. Should go for runner, draw all cyclers here. I kind of like Lava Serpent for just like the guaranteed, just 6 damage to him, or 5 damage to him. I'm really bad at math. Yeah. I mean, it's possible we just go just all in and just cycle Lava Serpent and just hope for the best. But I think just get the 5 damage with the Serpent here. Let them do whatever attacks they want. I'm at 20 and they've spent their Zenith Flare, unless they have another. And like if I top deck any cycler, the amount of cyclers left in this deck, like 12 out of 16, that's the majority of this deck is cyclers. So it's super possible that I just draw a cycler and loop cyclers off that one draw and find the kill next turn. I suppose if they get really lucky here and they just loop cyclers off the top, they can kill me. Because I don't have a cycler up here. Oh, that would be brutal. They just do 20 here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Are they really gonna... Cause there's no way they had 2 cyclers in hand there at this point. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 2 more cyclers would kill me. Or 2 more cyclers would put me to 1. And either way, they're getting 4 life every cycle, which is rough. Land, 1 card in hand. Just attack all here. No Zenith Flare. Okay, no Zenith Flare. Ooh, double strike. Lava Serpent hits for 10. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 plus Zenith Flare. More than lethal. If they let us go to combat, they don't have a cycler. Ooh. They have something instant speed. I hate that. They have their own Zenith Flare, and they just want to make sure that I can't Zenith Flare in response to their Zenith Flare. They're going to Zenith Flare in response to mine. If they had Zenith Flare, they would have just cast it. So they don't have Zenith Flare. Because they would have just cast it. I was tapped out. I couldn't Zenith Flare in response to their Zenith Flare. Hit for 14 and then cast Zenith Flare on face? What is this? What is this card you have? If it's Zenith Flare, I'm going to lose my mind, because they could have just killed me and not toyed with me like this. I will cry so hard. Okay. No idea what was in their hand there, but that will be 7 wins and 1 loss for the cycling deck. Again, the deck to beat in the format, the villain of the format. Ridiculous deck, and if it is open, I highly recommend drafting it. What a run. Really great stuff. Played against some great mutate decks there. Some great cycling decks, especially that last round. And, yeah, we really did it there. But I believe that is going to end today's video for me. As always, if you enjoyed the video, you can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know as much. And I will be back again for some more Magic Arena, probably for the launch of Jumpstart Historic Horizons in a couple days. So thank you all for watching as always, and if I want to play any more Magic in the meantime, it'll be on the Twitch channel at the description, link in description below, and yeah, I will see you all again soon for some more Magic Arena. Thank you for watching.